Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for cannabis.
Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. Welcome to CMMNJ TV. I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. I'm here in the Princeton Community TV studio today with Matt Ringley, a veteran of the Navy and a resident of York, Pennsylvania. So thank you so much for coming here, Matt.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. And so, Matt, you've got some stories to tell us about medical marijuana and your experiences with it. And you're a disabled Navy veteran. I see you wear the cap that says
Yes,
that.
sir.
And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences in the Navy, Matt?
Adventurous, to say the least. Started out with boot camp when I was doing combat training. I got flipped up into the air, kind of gorilla pressed into the air, and I didn't land on the mat. I ended up landing on the concrete floor, and I did so face first. It kind of smashed up this area of my face, my septum, my orbital and ocular socket was messed up. My face and cheek and eye bone had to go under a little bit of reconstruction.
Mine. And yet you stayed with the Navy. That wasn't enough to get you out?
It wasn't enough to get me out. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I was kind of unconscious and kind of came to it in the emergency room, so it was kind of traumatic just on that part alone. But that led me, since it happened to my face and my head, it ended up giving me a traumatic brain injury, which was never diagnosed. I had really bad sleep apnea due to the deviated septum. And because of the head injury, I came down with narcolepsy. Now, narcolepsy you can get genetically, but you can also get it from head wounds as well. Mine was derived from head wound. Back in 1992, they really didn't know a whole lot about narcolepsy, sleep apnea, and so forth. It was kind of new stuff. So I didn't get diagnosed on any of that after this happened. I went on bed rest. I stayed with my company in boot camp and so forth while my face healed, and they went around doing stuff, and about a month and a half later I was going around touring with them. They didn't know about the sleeping disorder. They didn't know about the sleep apnea, so I ended up continuing on. They didn't know anything was going on. I was having issues with reading because of the brain damage that no one really knew about, and I wasn't telling them that I couldn't read that well. I just struggled through. I still passed all my tests and whatnot, and graduated with my group and moved on to do my other training and whatnot.
And then you became a submariner while you were in the Navy, and so you went into submarine service,
Correct.
silent service, and yet you had some very unfortunate experiences there as well, as a result of this injury, I understand.
Well, because of the injury in boot camp, and not getting it properly diagnosed because of it being new territory at the time, I went into submarines, and submarines is just as hard as Navy SEALs. There's a lot of qualifications that are expected of you. You have to know all the ins and outs of the submarine, because on a fast attack like I was on, there's only about 100 guys on the boat. So everybody needs to know how everything on the boat works, because God forbid something happens to somebody, somebody else has to take over for them. Since I was a cross-class machinist mate boiler technician, and being a petty officer, I was expected to get my qualifications done quicker because of being a auxiliaryman. Part of the what they call the A-gangers.
This was a wartime experience. We were at
This
war
was
at the
during
time.
Desert Shield,
Desert Shield.
and Desert Storm. Yeah, as soon as I reported to my submarine, we were deployed off to the Gulf.
You were
I
in the
can
Gulf,
actually
so.
talk about it. Yeah, and we were doing mine sweeping. We were taking out the mines over in the Gulf so that our aircraft carriers could come in with our air support and so forth. So that's kind of what I got to see as far as war and so forth.
Yeah.
But as far as what I saw when I get ready to tell you about, that was my own war. I ended up having a seizure while I was on watch, and they didn't know it was a seizure. They just thought I fell asleep, as being laser or whatnot. So they had me stand what's called captain's mast while I was on the submarine. I was reduced in rank from a third-class petty officer to a seaman. I was also restricted to the submarine for 45 days. When you're on restriction on submarines, they dress you up in prison dungarees. They kind of have like a number stenciled on you, and they have your last name over on the other side. You're pretty much,
Marked as
the black sheep per se.
right.
It made trying to get qualifications, on the ship done difficult, and since they were expected for me to get them done quicker, when you have a black mark against you, and like I said, with there being less than 100 people on the boat, everybody's going to hear about it.
Sure.
There was a lot of hazing, a lot of name calling, a lot of things being associated with me being lazy, then making fun of me being reduced to a seaman, calling me bubble or stain or any, mixture thereof. Started out with that, giving me all the shit duties on the boat. I don't know if I can say shit or whatnot, but store high in transit, that's where shit comes from. Store high in transit. And it was actually poop. Tangent quoting. Anyway, they weren't aware of the seizure disorder, so they were hazing me. They were like making my life miserable because they thought I was just lazy and a piece of garbage. I let my command know what was going on. I let my chief petty officer know, what was going on with the hazing and trying to get my qualifications done. He didn't really want to hear about it. They went to do an investigation on it, and because everybody was, kind of working together, it was, the supposed black sheep against everybody else. That wasn't going to work well. They pulled together my command came back and told me, hey, you're just going to have to suck it up.
You were not allowed to leave the submarine
No.
while you were in port when everyone else finally got a break from
Could
this
go up to the barracks. They could
quarters.
Yeah, they could get mail. They could receive mail. They could send mail out. They had phones up at the barracks. Obviously, cell phones were a big thing back in '92, so I wasn't able to contact my family. So I was cut off from my family. I was cut off from my friends. I was given all the bad assignments and duties on the boat. Trust me, it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And then because I was doing that and trying to do the qualifications, I ended up falling asleep on watch again. And that's kind of when things turned a bit darker. I was made to stand captain's mast again. I wasn't done with the 45-day restriction when I was captain masted again, and I was reduced from an E3 to an E2, which is a seaman recruit. So the name calling got turned up a bit. They were trying to light a fire under my butt because they wanted me to give up. I just never gave up. I stuck at it. However, because of me coming forward about the hazing, the things that they were doing, they kind of amped it up. It went from just hazing and name calling and so forth to things getting to a physical nature, hitting, different types of torture where they would get on me a number, they would wrap me up in duct tape. I've experienced waterboarding on innumerable occasions.
That's actual torture.
Yeah, I know what it feels like to have a towel over my face and be held while they're pouring water on the towel, and it feels like you're literally drowning.
Sure.
I've gone through that numerous times. I've been stuck in torpedo tubes while we're 400 and 500 foot underwater. And when you're down that far, the water is ice cold. And they're putting you in a torpedo tube, dogging it, closing it, and then filling it with really cold seawater. You get to experience hypothermia. I still have issues with trying to feel with a couple of my fingers because of them experiencing issues with the cold.
Well, absolutely inhumane treatment you endured.
Well, it gets worse. The physical and the torture was just the start of it. I'm one of the few veterans that has come forward about military sexual trauma, or MST. The physical assaults and the torture and so forth was the beginning of it, but when they would do what they did with the duct tape and so forth, taping me up and so forth, there was, I guess you've heard of the old term, a circle jerk.
Sure.
Okay, I was in the middle of the circle jerk. Everybody went off on me and calling me Seaman Ringley while they were jerking off on me and having semen on me. That was just the start of some of the sexual assaults.
I'm sure this is difficult for you.
It happened on a regular occasion, and with being unable to talk to anybody about it without being able to get any kind of escape from it, I ended up snapping. And because they viewed me as being homicidal or suicidal, they put me on watch and they got me moved off of the boat, which was probably a good thing because I was conspiring to kill my attackers. There was 4 of them. And I just started actually working on cognitive therapy techniques and cognitive processing with my doctor,
It seems surprising that the command structure on the submarine could allow this to go on. With
they don't want to admit that these kind of things are happening. The command and so forth try to cover these kind of things up. And back in the day with hazing and so forth, they were like, he just needs to suck it up.
Right. Hazing was an accepted practice in many...
In military it was, yeah.
I'm so sorry that you had to endure all that, man. I really am. And as a result, you suffer from it still. Now you have
severe PTSD.
Severe post-traumatic stress disorder. And you said it's 3 C's?
3C, compound, complex, and chronic in nature.
And so this means that there were multiple causes for the PTSD, is that what it is? And
that's why it's complex in nature, because it wasn't just physical, it was mental, it was emotional, it was experiencing so many different things, from people that I was supposed to trust.
Right.
These are guys that I was training with. These are guys that I was supposed to have the mindset that we're all together on this, and instead it felt like me against the entire command.
Did they first try you on typical pharmacological interventions?
They tried to. However, in 1996, I was misdiagnosed with bipolar type 2. Because a lot of males and females weren't really coming forward about military sexual trauma. It was a well-known practice that kind of thing was going on, but it was one of those things that they kept it very, hush-hush.
Yeah.
Kind of working on a book on that called The Long Hard Road Out of the Deep Blue Sea. It's about military hazing and military sexual trauma and the lasting after effects.
And so then you found marijuana to be helpful.
Yeah, I did. With 3C PTSD, there's well over 30 symptoms just associated with that type. Cannabis helps me with the entire, across the board.
Yeah.
It helps me.
We hear this so often. A colleague of mine, Brian Crum from New Mexico, he's a nurse practitioner in New Mexico. He runs Sage Clinic, and he's allowed to recommend marijuana for PTSD sufferers, and he has a clinic there when he's done it for several hundred patients, and he says that he did a study of the several hundred patients that use marijuana for PTSD, and he said that they typically decrease the nightmares, increase the quality of sleep, decrease the reliance on opioids and alcohol, decrease aggressive behavior, decrease psychotic symptoms, and there's a 75% decrease in the frequency and severity of suicidal thoughts.
And ideations.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a rare panic reaction, but it's generally well tolerated, the marijuana for PTSD among veterans. So those are the type of symptoms that you had problems with, and you found similar kind of relief from many of those symptoms, Matt?
I did. Actually, it was from my supervisor at my first civilian job after I got out of military. Because I was so erratic and so hyper and whatnot when I would get around people because of having a social anxiety disorder and a social phobia that was never diagnosed properly. When I would get around people, I would get giddy or hyper. And I joke about it now with some of the cannabis comedy that I do, but he really saved my life. My supervisor, God rest his soul, Jerry Marks, he was the one who introduced me to it, and he basically wanted to get me stoned just so that I would relax. So when your supervisor at work gets you stoned,
unusual experience.
And when I tell you that it might have been an unusual experience, but when I tell you that it changed my entire life, And it changed my entire outlook, because trust me, I was one of those, don't do drugs, just say no, Reaganomics, the whole thing. I'd never done any kind of illicit drugs. I didn't even drink until I was legally able to. So when I tell you, when I did this, that it helped me on multiple levels. Yeah. And I advocate heavily for it with
Yeah, I see now you're actually wearing the T-shirt for Pennsylvanians for Safe Access. And,
Absolutely.
It says right on your shirt that the medical bill was signed by Governor Wolf on 4/17/16, which was, about 5 months ago now. And so you live in York, Pennsylvania. And
Yes.
You worked to get this bill passed into
Yes.
law. I know. The Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey was instrumental in getting the very first bill introduced in Pennsylvania in 2009.
Yeah.
So it really took 7 years for it to pass. Now, we played a peripheral role in Pennsylvania. We testified at legislative hearings and whatnot. But you guys
I've watched it, trust me.
But you guys were on the ground right there in Harrisburg and lobbying.
Every day. I was there at the Capitol with Les Stark and Christy Billett, Keystone Canvas Coalition,
Right.
Pennsylvanians for Safe Access. Really went at this hard, and we pushed to get Tom Wolf in. Tom Wolf got in.
Yeah,
Which
getting a supportive governor is very important.
Absolutely.
We have a governor who is not as supportive here in New Jersey, so our medical marijuana program is really struggling.
I made a couple of calls. I actually called Christie's office because I was interested in moving here to New Jersey. I wanted to move to Brick, New Jersey, near Point Pleasant Beach. I have friends and so forth that live there, and I actually wanted to come down to be a part of getting things done around here. I've called into Christie's offices and I got the runaround. I even put in to have a call back, and I haven't heard anything from them.
But now Pennsylvania actually includes post-traumatic stress disorder as one of its qualifying conditions. So you will qualify as soon as the marijuana becomes available in Pennsylvania. It's been 5 months now, almost, we said. And the health department is working on the rules and regs to start this program. And so we probably think it'll probably start in maybe a year and a half that marijuana will actually be available.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
However, in the meantime, we're going for statewide decriminalization. I wanted to make a point to mention that Christy Billett and Les Stark, especially PA for Safe Access, has made the move to go for full legalization and for full decriminalization. We've gotten Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and now Harrisburg is coming into play. We get the three biggest cities, all the different municipalities and so forth are going to follow suit.
Statewide, for a statewide decriminalization bill, and also for legalization, did you say?
We like to go full, legalization, medical as well as recreational. I've no big secret with me. I mean, since I'm medically retired, I have a lot of time to read into a lot of things. The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Some of the work that I do and follow with Ed Forchain and New Jersey Weedman and Lefty Grimes with the Sativa Cross podcast. It's just a wealth of information that's out there. When you find out that a lot of this was done on, based off of racism, big surprise there. Racism and money. It's kind of eye-opening.
We really recognize how serious a condition this is and how much medical marijuana can really help with this, and we just hope that it will be recognized in the legislature.
Really? So when Governor Christie sat on the bill, did it get lost up in there?
No, so you do comedy.
I don't know, it's really big. It would be really easy to get lost in there, man.
You do comedy as well.
Oh yeah, I do cannabis comedy, man. Most high.
Good.
I go around as the happy hippie. I started out as an independent wrestler, and it kind of, after a little bit of trouble legally, kind of worked over as an advocate and an activist. But the cannabis comedy, what do you call a hippie's missus?
A hippie's missus?
Yeah, a hippie's lady.
Don't know that one.
Mississippi. Mrs. Hippie.
Oh,
Mississippi.
Oh.
Comedy and clarity. If you can bring some comedy and some clarity to help people to understand, because there's been so much negative propaganda put out against it over many decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, anything that can put a good or a positive spin. I mean, thank God for Tommy Chong. I mean, Cheech and Chong, they were huge, and like, you know, the acceptability and the, you know, making it a fun or a happy thing instead of a, oh God, it's scary, the weed madness.
Sure, you know, the federal government's been demonizing marijuana for decades now.
Still.
And
I was actually hopeful that they were going to deschedule it.
Right.
And they're like, no, still needs to be Schedule 1.
Yeah, still
it's like,
Schedule 1.
really?
Yeah.
I just want to say this, as a veteran, my oath never expired. And when I took that oath to protect other, you know, civilians, United States citizens, from all enemies, you know,
Foreign and domestic.
We got a lot of domestic enemies here. And we got this really nifty document that states that, you know, when our government gets to a point like where it's at now, that we can abolish it and start all over again.
Yeah.
Our Constitution's a powerful thing, and if you kind of read through it, I'm in with the Oath Keepers. I'm sure you know the military group. We're a group that, you know, standing by our oath and keeping citizens informed as well as safe.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to CMMNJ.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey, from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for.
Every 42 seconds, someone in this country is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana. It could be you.